Hello, welcome to Swapping Joysticks. I'm your host, Biggest Bennett, and I have all 10 toes. And I am joined by Ed Nightingale. Hello, Ed.
Hello. I only have 9 now because you rolled over it.
You shouldn't. It's like I said. You shouldn't walk behind a reversing truck. You shouldn't walk behind a horse and you shouldn't walk behind somebody that's moving on wheels.
Are you comparing yourself to a horse now?
A truck.
Honestly.
Welcome. We are actually recording this on Twitch live because we've just watched the Xbox Developer Direct.
Live reactions.
And I didn't fancy streaming for just an hour. I thought I'd do it a little bit because there'll be people that end up missing their streaks on Twitch and whinge. So I will make sure that doesn't happen.
Because what's precious here are people's streaks.
And your toes,
as
apparently.
Opposed to my toes.
And your toes. But yeah, so who knows? Probably nobody will watch it on YouTube or download it anymore like this time if they're watching it. But it's fine. It is okay. We can talk to people here.
We can mix it up a bit.
And we can even respond to any questions or any commentary that people have. So if I'm defending something and you're attacking me, I can look in the chat for people defending me.
Or vice versa.
That probably won't happen, I know. I've also got I'm wearing, if you listen to this on like iTunes or Spotify or whatever, you won't be able to see it, but I've got a really suspect looking Twitch hoodie. And these are meant to be hearts, but
it looks like spunk.
Yeah, it does look a little suspect.
It's a dripping heart.
But it's a really nice hoodie. I do
what
like
are
it.
you dripping over, Ben?
It's really cool. Look how cool it is.
Right, you say cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got the Twitch logo on it, so,
Kappa.
That's already questionable.
Kappa slapper. Yeah, so there we go. But yeah, that's what I'm wearing. We're going to go...
I'm also wearing a new jumper.
Go on, show us your new jumper.
I mean, it's literally a plain black jumper, but...
There we are. Look at that. Give us a spin. Yeah, bend over. No, okay.
I'm not bending for you.
Getting people... We need the thirst views.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
We've tried it. We've tried everything else. But yeah, we're going to start with the Xbox Direct, whatever it's called.
Xbox Developer Direct.
I thought Nintendo had the monopoly on the word direct.
Well, yeah, they call them directs. PlayStation has the
State of Play.
State of Play, that's the one.
Absolute state of it.
Xbox has the Developer Direct because it's from developers. And to be fair, I actually really like the way they do this. I think this was the third of these that they always do this time of year. And rather than having like a Nintendo Direct where it's like, hey, here's like 30-second trailers and they whip through stuff. It's kind of 4 games and they do like a proper, oh God, I was about to say the word deep dive.
Deep dive.
Hate that
Why'd you hate the word deep dive?
Because it's like you're not diving in, like whatever.
Extended play.
An extended look at each of the 4 games where and it's not just here's a trailer, it's talking to the developers, it's understanding a bit more about it.
Well, moving forward, we can call it something else.
Of course we're moving forwards because that's how time works.
Somebody used that today
I'm not reaching out to anyone either. You will be communicated to via email.
Oh, I use reached out all the time.
No, I hate that.
And also today I had a meeting with somebody that used looking forwards twice in one sentence, which was quite impressive.
Oh, no. No.
Well, no, reaching out. I always use reaching out.
You're not reaching out.
I've been told to reach out to you.
Typing an email.
I've been told to reach out to you from blah, blah, blah.
No.
Someone's always told me to reach out to you.
I've been told to contact you.
No, contact you is like they need your to hear. No, reach out is just to be like, it's just like a little, ask you something.
No, I hate it. Yeah. I really, really hate it.
But we'll circle back to
what
we were talking about.
Nothing irks me more than a really corporate email.
You need to work well, it's because you've got nasty corporate.
I send passive aggressive responses.
Surprise!
Who would have thought?
Yeah, is it because you worked in a very corporate company for a while?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was an American company, and I feel like a lot of these are very American corporate phrases.
Right. Well, first things first. Do you like that one as well?
I mean, sure.
It's
stating the obvious.
Let's have a deep dive into the first game that was announced, which was something of... Oh, it was the Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden is coming back. Gaiden? Gaiden?
Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden.
Ninja Gaiden.
Yes, so there were 4 games. We knew what 3 of them were because they announced them beforehand, and then one was a mystery, which was this one, which was Ninja Gaiden 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they said it's the first Ninja Gaiden for like 18 years.
And
or
that was
something
only
like that.
2008.
Yeah.
17, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So the Ninja Gaiden series is obviously from way back in the 80s, which was super hard 2D platformers, which then Sega copied and made into the Shinobi games on the Mega Drive.
Did they?
They did.
Fuck those games.
Ninjas were like a really big thing in the 80s and 90s. And it was sort of mech shooters and alien shooters and ninja games. That's what people played back in the day.
So I'm just looking at. I actually have the Master Collection.
Oh, so you've already got them?
Which is Ninja Gaiden. Is that Sigma? Does that say Sigma?
Yes, it does.
You sure?
No.
Yes. What the hell is that? Is it Sigma?
It's a Sigma. Yes.
Okay, that one Sigma 2, and it also comes with Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Sigma, and then Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, and also the digital art book and soundtrack.
Nice. So basically, Ninja Gaiden then came back on the original Xbox, I think it was, which was Ninja Gaiden 1. And that then they then did like a sort of director's cut version of it, I think it is, which was called Ninja Gaiden Black.
I played the original on Xbox.
There you go.
I bought it and I spent about 20 minutes playing it and was like, this isn't for me. What a waste of money.
Well, so I'd heard a lot about them, and they then remastered it as Ninja Gaiden Sigma on PlayStation.
£2.50.
I spent a whole £2.50 on it, and that was about 2 years ago.
I think the most shocking thing is that you went into CEX.
Actually, maybe it was 3 years ago. I don't know. It was pretty recently, and I was like, I'm going to catch up on that. And I got to the second level and was like, this is way too difficult, and I got really annoyed. They are incredibly difficult games, but they are sort of character action type games in your kind of Devil May Cry kind of vibe.
I got that vibe as well from the new one as well, even though they're working with Platinum Games.
Yes. So anyway, Ninja Gaiden was then followed up by 2 and 3 on later consoles, and we haven't had one in forever. And now they're making Ninja Gaiden 4 as a proper sequel. The games are by Ninja Theory, who also went on to make the Neo games, which I know you
love. The Neo games.
I've not played them. I really should.
You should, yeah.
I like a Souls game.
They're good and they're different enough, I think. Like there are people that love them and like will put them 10 times higher than any Souls game because they're just like really passionate about them. I think you should play them. They're really good. They're like I said, they are different enough to a Souls game. Obviously, they follow certain tropes, but it's like a level that you go from one side to another. Maybe a bit like, well, I don't know. I suppose Demon Souls is kind of level based as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit like that. But then every now and again, there might be a little mini side mission, and it will be a kind of remix of the level, or it'll be just part of it, and they've like shut some bits off, so you've only got a small part to do it in, and that's like a small section, or there might be just a 1v1 battle that you've got to do.
Nice.
Yeah. Sorry, we just had a message from a celebrity.
Oh.
It was just the word, yeah. But we'll talk about that later.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that. Oh, it hasn't come through to me.
Oh, maybe he sent it to me.
Oh, there we go. No, I got it.
Oh,
nice. So anyway,
stay tuned.
Now making Ninja
Don't
Gaiden.
Go anywhere.
They're now making Ninja Gaiden 4. So it's Ninja Theory, but they are teaming up with Platinum Games, who you will know for making Bayonetta and Astral Chain.
I loved Astral Chain as well.
Various other, The Wonderful 101, various character action games, which is what this is. So I just think that's a really interesting team up because Platinum are known for this kind of game. So I think them coming in for Ninja Gaiden 4 is going to really add to it. I thought it looked incredible. It's a new protagonist, but you play as the old one as well. They talked a lot about the combat and about parries and new ninjutsu moves and things like that. It's set in Tokyo. We've been to Tokyo.
Really?
A sort of cyberpunk Tokyo that is all getting destroyed. So it's that kind of, you're a traditional ninja with a sword and shuriken and all of that, but it's in a very modern techno kind of world. I thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, I did as well. I just don't. If it frustrates me anywhere near as much as the old ones did, and there aren't any difficulties, then I'm kind of not interested. Because because I'm too old now to get frustrated with games, which you're not after playing a game that you'll talk about later.
Probably.
But no, I think it looked really good fun and very cathartic, and it's similar to kind of the Doom, which we'll go on to later as well. Sometimes just like destroying people, slicing them up into little pieces, and blood gushing everywhere, and a good bit of combat, like a really nice tight bit of combat with controls. It's sometimes what you just need.
Oh, Team Ninja. That's the one.
Do you call it Ninja Theory?
I did.
Yeah.
They're easily confused. Yes, it's Team Ninja. So, yeah, it was really quick as well. Like the combat, they've sped it up and made it really, really fast, but it looks very fun.
Mm-hmm.
My only concern is, as I joked with this one that I've played before and gave up on, it's very difficult. So, yeah, I really hope that they are working on the sort of approachability of it. And I guess when there's a game that hasn't been out or a series that hasn't been seen in 18 years, people won't know what it is. People will have forgotten it. So is this a direct continuation?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to play 1, 2, and 3? Or, what's the deal there? And on that, they are re-releasing Ninja Gaiden
2.
2. I was like, shit, is it 2 or 3? 2.
Yeah.
Which they're calling Ninja Gaiden 2 Black as the sort of director's cut version, like the first one. And that is out now on Game Pass. So you can go and play it.
Are you going to play it?
I'm very tempted to jump in and
Yeah.
give it a go.
Good.
So,
I'm
yeah.
not.
You're not?
No, it's not for me.
I feel like we're in a bit of an age of combat games. Like there are loads of these sorts of combat-focused games coming out. I feel like we had a lot of them a few years ago, back in sort of PS2 times with Ninja Gaiden, with the first Devil May Cry, with the first Bayonetta game, all of that kind of stuff. And then Souls kicked off. And then we've had all of these Souls-like games that everyone's making. And now I feel like they're taking or realizing that what people like in the Souls games is the combat, especially then Sekiro and Bloodborne as well. And now bringing that back again to the sort of character action stuff. So we've got this coming out. We've just had Wukong last year. There's Wu Chang coming out this year. There's Phantom Blade Zero.
What's
that
the other
had a
one?
new trailer this
Wolong as well.
That's already out.
No, that you played.
Yeah.
Was that the one that you got really annoyed at? Because the first boss you managed to beat, and then there's a second part. Was that Wolong?
That was Wolong. I did
Yeah.
beat the first boss. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but eventually.
And Stellar Blade was last year. So there were all of these kind of really combat-focused games coming out. And I think, therefore, this is a good time to bring Ninja Gaiden back, because I think there is an audience for it now. So, yeah, I'm excited for this. I'm definitely going to play this.
Good.
You're not.
We'll see. I don't know. It's just there are so many games that come out. I can be picky, and if I'm picky, I'm not going to probably play this. Unless it comes out and it's like, hey, this is a 10 out of 10, amazing game. The combat just feels incredible. There's a nice kind of difficulty kind of curve or whatever. That I might give it a bit of a go. But yeah, it's not. I like a game with like a really good story, really good music, and then I just think a bit of a hack and slash.
I mean, it's definitely a hack and slash, but it's a flashy hack and slash
Oh,
with a Tokyo in it.
cool.
Fine. Well, the next game, was that of interest to you?
Was that the South of Midnight?
That is South of Midnight is the second one.
Without sounding too negative, not really.
Wow.
No, the other ones did. I mean, Doom I'm very excited for, and I'm very, very excited for Clair Obscura. But yeah, South of Midnight was... I'm like, okay, another kind of action, like Kenna Bridge of Spirits style game where you're just going around using a unique thing that they've designed for that game or for that character. And I like the style of all the weird and wonderful beasts, magical beasts, and it's very kind of fantasy, like fairy tale fantasy. But I don't know, that just didn't excite me. It's one of those games that I think if it came out and said, or if it came out that it was reviewing really well, I might be like, okay, now I'm intrigued. Like, is the story actually very, very good, or because they seem to just focus a lot on the combat, which didn't really excite me that much.
Yeah. I think this looks interesting. It's a third-person action game. We've seen it, or they've sort of shown it off before, but it's coming out in April, which is really soon. I think you're right. It has a kind of Kenna Bridge of Spirits vibe meets Forspoken.
I was exactly the same, yeah.
And I feel like it's got a lot of potential, but I'm also worried about certain things. So
About culture war,
yes,
stokers.
so it has a black woman as the lead character, and inevitably that's going to lead to a load of idiots going, "We don't want to play this."
Was that her mum in it, or was that her partner? Because if it's her partner, it's like, oh god.
I got mum vibes.
Oh, it might
rather
be,
than
might have been. I
partner.
wasn't really paying too much attention, so it might be mum.
Okay.
That's fine.
Um,
Well, I mean, it'll be fine anyway. But you just know what people, and like obviously you shouldn't even think about that. But it's just like
no,
you know
I
that
don't
there's
want
gonna
to think about that, but unfortunately,
there will be a hate campaign.
there will be, and unfortunately, that's what happened with Forspoken. And Forspoken was really unfairly criticised for certain things.
It was a 6.5 out of 10.
It was a 7.
I completely disagree with you, Ed.
Okay.
It was 6.5.
No, it was 7. I enjoyed Forspoken. It had some really good ideas. It also fucked up in some areas, but having a black woman in it was not a fuck up. Like, that was great. And I enjoyed her character. So I just hope that brigade doesn't descend on South of Midnight for the same reasons.
Of course they will.
I mean, of course they will, but we can but hope that they won't.
They will.
So
Assholes.
that aside, I thought it looked really cool. I really like the sort of fairy tale fantasy vibe of it. It's
They're
sort of
attacking the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 guy, who is kind of a bit, he's Gamergator, just because he dared to put a black person in the sequel. I mean,
Well,
that's...
these people can fuck off.
Stay off Twitter, folks. To be honest, if you
Yes.
stay off there, you don't actually see the hate campaign as much.
Yeah.
Just limit where you go and find it. Sorry.
Anyway, I really like the fairy tale vibe of it. It is set in sort of southern America, in the bayou, in the swamps. I'm getting a lot of like voodoo vibes from it, which I think looks really cool. The main character has this sort of unique idea of magic and the way she attacks and explores and presumably solve puzzles and things like that. So it's got a lot of the sort of things in it that I really like. My main concern is the visual style, which has a kind of stop motiony sort of cartoony thing where the frame rate is not as smooth as I would like
Wallace
it to be.
and Gromit.
And I know that that's giving that stop motion effect. I just worry that over an extended period, is that going to be quite hard to play?
Wasn't
also
Kenner the same?
No, that was just very Pixar. This is more stop motiony, but I feel like, because we've seen it before in trailers like a year ago or so, and I feel like it was more pronounced then. And looking at this new trailer, I feel like they've softened it a bit and maybe taken feedback in to be like, let's dial back a little bit on that. Because I think it does add a certain uniqueness to the visuals.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that's going to make me feel sick after a bit.
I don't think it will for me, but it's... Yeah, it's a style choice. I like a game with a good style choice, and that's something a bit more unique and memorable for it, which might benefit it. But I just hope it seems like a really fascinating world. I just hope that they do justice to it with a good story and really good music. I mean, especially if it's set in like the South, which I know we're kind of at this time, in this kind of time we're in, I'm like, Southern states, USA, I'm probably don't really want to hear from them after what's happening with the world. But like, there's a lot of amazing music and amazing kind of culture there that they could really tap into. So hopefully they would.
I think so. I think there's a chance that it could be good. I just don't know if it's going to sell well.
No, it
That's
doesn't.
my
It
concern
doesn't.
with
It just didn't stand out really. I
Okay.
wonder if, when you ask people from this, what do they remember? They'll probably end up saying just Doom and Ninja Gaiden.
Well, you say that from my cursory look on social media just now. Afterwards, the main one is Clair Obscur.
I mean,
a lot of
was
people
mine.
are very excited about, and that is my not just favorite game in this, but probably top 3 games of this year that I'm looking forward to. And it finally has a release date, which is also in April, which is really soon.
You got 3 weeks
I should
to
say as
finish
well, I
South
think-
of Midnight.
Yeah, I think all these games are coming out on PS5 as well as Xbox, which is also interesting.
I also thought it was quite interesting that they said that it would come out on the PS5 on the. Did they do that last time?
Nope.
I think this is quite new. They're just like,
Well, everything is an Xbox now.
it is, and all of these are coming to Game Pass day one,
Yes.
which is nice.
Yeah. So, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is sort of Japanese RPG style game from a French developer and who I met last year. So
The one you said
a
was
lot
hot.
of what they showed, I'm going to skip over that. A lot of what they showed at this developer direct basically was already known.
Yeah, I've already seen it.
Well, I don't mean, I mean generally from trailers and everything they've done. And I think that's the only downside to this developer direct is them sort of almost re-establishing each game and giving you a big overview. And so with Clair Obscur, there wasn't actually that much new, apart from the release date and the fact that there's a world map. They didn't really show anything new, but I already know that I want this game. I'm desperate to play it.
Oozes with like style and creativity, which I loved. Even just a bit about how to travel along across the world map. You've got this weird object person thing that kind of evolves and then gets you places.
It's called a gestural, whatever the fuck that is.
Gestural. And the thing that drew me was just the story. Immediately, I'm like, this sounds really interesting that this random thing painted a glyph of a number and then it's going down every year or whatever. So, and if you reach that number, then you immediately disintegrate. And I don't know, I'm just like, I want to know the secrets of this. It's really grabbed me.
They talked about the story not just being good versus evil, but have it being sort of about, it's a more mature story, it's more adult, it's about different perspectives of people, more sort of shades of grey, I guess, which
50.
is nice that it's then 50 shades. So it's not just good versus evil, which is a bit boring. Excuse me. So yeah, I think the story sounds great and really different and unique. The characters all sound really cool.
33 Shades of Grey, as Mr. Whipple said.
Yes, exactly. I think the combat is what's drawing most people in. It is turn-based combat, as you would have in the old JRPGs. However, it then has this sort of real-time action element, which is essentially the same as like Mario RPG or Sea of Stars that was a couple of years ago. It's that kind of vibe. Although they've said that they were actually, or what he told me, was that he was inspired by Sekiro because he loves that parry mechanic. So basically it's turn-based combat, but in order to actually execute attacks and defend, you can parry and you can dodge and you can hit buttons in time to do extra damage and things like that.
That's what I love about Yakuza games.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what they have in, like they have dodge, parry windows. You can hit certain combinations, well not combinations, but you hit certain things when it prompts you to do more attack. And yeah. And that's like, that. I think that is the way forward for turn-based. If you do want turn-based, you need to make it a little bit more exciting than that.
Yeah.
Than like just standard.
So they've got that turn-based combat, but with a modern twist. And that's kind of what they're doing across the whole game, is that it is in the style of an old RPG. So he was inspired by, Final Fantasy 7 and 9 and 8 and the old Persona games and things like that. So they've taken those elements, but then given it a sort of modern twist with the beautiful visuals, a really cool soundtrack. It's all very operatic, but then it's also got like heavy metal in it as well. And it's just a beautiful setting. It's really unique, I think. It doesn't look like anything else. The sort of Belle Epoque fantasy world, it's all very surreal.
Bit of belly pop. Love that.
The bit that I saw last year was kind of them exploring this world that's underwater, but obviously not actually underwater. It's as if it is, which was just really cool. So yeah, it's giving that old school but modern vibe. And then what they showed today, the only real new bit apart from the release date, was the world map, which is what old school JRPGs used to have. And I remember playing Final Fantasy 7 with a 3D world map that's just green and blue and really basic, but was 3D at the time. Obviously now in Rebirth, you get an open world. And they're now trying to replicate that with this game, with it having an explorable world map, but obviously way more advanced than what games were back in the day. So I just think it looks beautiful. And chatting to him last year, the influences that he was talking about, I was like, you're literally listing all of my favorite games and then doing something new with it that I'm like, this just sounds incredible. So I am super excited about this game.
Same. Like sometimes, quite a lot of the times we get excited about the same games. Ninja Gaiden not so much, but this is definitely one I think we'll both be playing a lot of.
Yes. And then the fourth game.
Oh, and also Ben Starr's in it.
Ben Starr is in it.
And Jennifer English, right?
And Jennifer
That was
English.
definitely her. Here.
Yes, Shadowheart. They're all confirmed.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis is in it as well. Gollum.
Oh.
Yes, he's also in it. So a great cast as well. Yeah, I'm really.
It's weird because it's like, is
my
it
number
a
one this year?
AAA game? That's because it's weird because I feel like it's AA. Well, if that's a word.
Well, it's
But then it's also like got this incredible cast, but also it looks so visually impressive, and like the character faces, it looks like there's a lot of money behind it.
yeah, it's a new studio, and that's the interesting thing with this developer direct is that they actually show the developers, and it's them talking about their games. And it was this guy on his own in France who just had an idea, and then bit by bit has put together a team. The fact that Xbox are backing it now makes me think they have given them a lot of money and seen the
Potential.
the potential in this game and giving them some extra money. It's also published by Kepler, who also are very good at supporting indie developers.
Yeah.
So it's sort of giving you that AAA vibe, but on a smaller budget, I presume.
And I hope that means then that the game's like 20 hours. That would be
Oh my
nice.
God, I would love that. Give me just a really high quality but short RPG. I'm totally down for that.
Yeah. Like Forspoken, I finished that in 11 hours.
Yeah.
Although it wasn't high quality. It wasn't super high quality.
Wow.
And then, well, Vilk Smash in the chat says a little sad they didn't announce the Oblivion remaster that's all but confirmed. And that would be Bethesda, right?
Yes.
Yes, I'm thinking.
Well, they're owned by Microsoft, so
That's right. So, but they gave us a different Bethesda game. They gave us the
Yes.
new Doom game.
Now I was busy writing Clair Obscur, so I didn't watch a lot of the Doom. So this
Kill,
is over
kill,
to
fire,
you.
fire. I mean, also as well, because they were really deep diving into the game, sorry. These are games that are out very soon. So I think, the Oblivion remaster, if that's coming out at kind of Christmas time or whatever, then that's something that they'd probably announce in like June. Doom is back, and it's a prequel, sorry, to the 2016 Doom game, which is the one that I finished and loved, absolutely adored it.
I loved that as well. Did you play Eternal? Because I didn't play that.
So there's a story behind Returnal.
Okay.
So, well, Doom the original, I loved it. It didn't like I looked at it and went like it's all like set in hell. It's really grim. It's kind of oppressive, and it's not my kind of thing whatsoever. And then I started playing it. I was like, oh my god, this is so good. This just feels amazing. I think I should have it on easy because I'm like, I'm a god, whatever. It's like God of War. I am a god, so therefore I'm turning it on easy as I'm a god. Doom hours as well. I'm literally Doom Slayer, so I'm therefore going to be putting it on easy and just destroying everything. And it didn't take away from the experience whatsoever. I just went around absolutely murdering everything. Oh, the shotgun and like the finishing moves just felt so good. And then, so Eternal got announced. Very, very excited about that. Downloaded it literally the minute it released on Game Pass, which is like 11 p.m. I think it came up. But I was back in the day where I was not here in London with you, and I used to stay up playing games a lot and streaming them. And then 11 o'clock p.m. started playing it. I was like, this is good. It was quite difficult, I remember.
I know where this is going now.
Yeah, I remember being like, oh, this is quite tricky. And that was 11. I was like, okay, this is good. And then midnight hit and Animal Crossing unlocked. And the rest is history. And I switched to Animal Crossing, and 2,500 hours later, made Twitch partner, ended up like meeting people. So many people are probably listening to this through it. That's when. So in other words, Animal Crossing kind of took over of all the games, kind of took over Doom, because there was the big kind of Animal Crossing Doom crossover.
Yeah, there were
memes.
a lot of memes about that. Because
Yeah.
did they announce a release date for Doom, this new one?
Yes.
Which is when?
I want to say like April. I want to say like May.
Because I was literally like, if this comes out in May, what if they release Switch 2 also in May with an Animal Crossing launch game, and then we get Animal Crossing and Doom all over again, like
May
2020?
15th. May 15th. I mean, that'd be great if they did that, but also I don't think my heart would quite cope with a Animal Crossing launch game. There's not enough time I could take off work, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's true.
And especially
anyway.
May as well, because we've got a very busy start to June.
We do. So then, yes, this new Doom, as you said, is a prequel to that first one.
But just in the chat, Flinksy says, cost me over $200, you in that game. Yeah, there were quite a few people that ended up buying like Switches and Animal Crossing from all our hyping of Animal Crossing that we loved.
Rightly so.
Yeah. Also, the chat says, then he played a much better game and I found you all. Good luck saying Animal Crossing isn't a very good game. I know you didn't say exactly that, but good luck saying that in the community.
Well, I think he's just joking about Jackbox.
Jackbox is an Animal Crossing very different.
Oh, for sure.
Well, obviously very different, but Animal Crossing.
So anyway, the new Doom.
Oh yeah, I should actually talk about that, shouldn't I? That was the prequel to Doom 2016, and interestingly, they said that you in Doom the first Doom and 2016 Doom, you're kind of just racing through, destroying things, going from one place to another. Doom Eternal is quite like kind of jumping around. There's lots of verticality to the levels. And that was a thing that I think people didn't like as much, if I'm right in thinking.
Yep.
And they made it very, very, very clear that that wouldn't be the case in this. In fact, they said that you're like a tank, or like a fast tank or something. And you're not going to be jumping around and stuff, but you're still like moving at speed, destroying things, and you've got some really cool weapons. And my favorite, I think it's called the Saw Shield or something, or the Shield Saw.
Okay.
And it is a shield that is also a saw.
Oh, really?
That you can do proper like Captain America. You can throw it; it'll just stay spinning in like monsters' faces until they're split in half, and then you get it back. And
I mean, Doom is all about the over-the-top weapons and gore,
so over
right?
the top, and they've got like a mace on a stick, and it is just ridiculously over the top with amazing music. Continues with the fantastic music, which I think they changed the composer, didn't they, after the 2016 one, which was a bit controversial, or there was some controversy. I can't remember exactly what, but they brought back the person that does it now is someone that I see quite a bit on Twitter or on Blue Sky, I'd say now, and I can't remember his name, but he is what's his name? Remind me, Ed.
I have no idea.
Doom composer. The new one is Mick Gordon. You know Mick Gordon?
That name rings a bell, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So, they didn't pay the 2016 composer. That was a controversy. Well, that would be very bad of them. Mick Gordon was 2016. It comes out here that's like 2020 or something. I don't know.
Anyway.
Keep going.
So what I saw, or what I've heard from this, is that because it's a prequel, it's giving a sort of medieval vibe, but also mechs. So I saw a bit at the end that was you riding on a dragon, but also a sort of cyber dragon with a Gatling gun, which sounds interesting. Mick Gordon did do Eternal and the 2016 one, which is weird if he didn't get paid for the 2016 one. Usually if you get commissioned for something and don't get paid, you don't tend to go back and do another one. So there's obviously a story that I need to look into, but he might not be back for this new one because he's not down on his resume anyway. But what were we saying? Sorry? I'm really glad you were listening.
There's something about a thing. Gatling gun? Gatling gun, wasn't it? You said Gatling gun.
What I said was that it's a medieval vibe, but with sci-fi. And I saw a bit with a dragon that was more of a mech dragon with a Gatling gun.
It felt a lot more open, which I quite like. Because Doom 2016 is quite oppressive, especially like when you go to hell. Spoiler. But like it's very, very oppressive. And like, I don't know, you just feel trapped all the time. Whereas this felt a lot more open. You can fly a dragon, which gave me the horrible vibe of like the Spyro the Dragon flying levels, which used to just still trigger me. And also you get
very different visual.
You can, like the same style as it's going up and down and you're controlling it and you're a dragon. So
but it's not bright purple.
No, still horrific. But the really cool thing were these giant mechs that you can go in.
Okay.
And you can be literally like controlling a Godzilla style kind of Doomslayer character, and you can you've got your super sized guns as well, and these are like 20-30 times bigger than you normally are, controlling these, and you're smashing buildings. I feel like you could do that, but you can kind of like shoot others that are these massive monsters, and they like fall to bits everywhere, and it felt good just watching it, so I want to play it.
So a lot of violence then.
Really lots of violence. I'm going to just like sit there playing that and just every time I'm stressed, I'm going to just play a level of it. I think it would be a great game to do that.
Well, yeah, do that and don't come near me.
Yeah. I got to say, it felt great wheeling over your foot.
Wow.
The stress that came out. You did punch me earlier though, because I said Bjork sounded.
You insulted Bjork, and so it was deserved.
Oh, no, she just like.
Let's not talk about it.
When I wheeled over your foot, you sounded a bit like Bjork. La, la, la. Anyway.
Wow.
So.
I cannot with you.
That's Doom. Go and play Doom.
Yes. So that was the 4 games. Which, so I guess, what's your overall thought of it as a presentation?
I was maybe expecting, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. I forgot that it was this format. I was like, I'm looking forward to a load of new announcements and things, but I was also thinking, like, why would they do it now and not at the Game Awards, when that was only a few weeks ago? But actually, it does make sense for what they did, and especially when there's some games coming out. And it's like, hey, these are all the games that are coming out before E3 time. So, yeah, you get
It's
people
nice
hyped.
to start the year with this is what Xbox is doing,
Yeah.
like in January, rather than a kind of end of year that the Game Awards is.
Mm-hmm.
And they want their own event that they can control. And I think it's good for Microsoft. Everyone always complains like, oh, there aren't enough games on Xbox and exclusives especially. And I think none of these are really exclusives, and they're not doing that anymore anyway. But it's good to know that there are some really good games coming to Xbox.
Yeah.
I think all 4 look great. I will gladly play all 4, as much as Clair Obscur is my number 1 out of them. And it's nice that we got a shadow drop as well of the Ninja Gaiden remake, because it was 2 years ago that we had this, where they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush, which was a massive surprise.
Yeah.
To have something really cool that I remember just running out of this room to go and play. So
and enjoyed and reviewed it and gave it 5 stars or
4.
recommended, or,
It was
or 4. Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, it was recommended rather than essential, because we didn't do scores at those days. I nearly gave it essential. So yeah, I think it's
Maybe
great.
the
that they
studio
have
will
this.
still be
I think-
operating if you had.
No. Okay. Don't you put that on me. How very dare. They are still operating, thank you very much. They've just moved. So yeah, I think it was a good showing for them. Like, because they say 3 of the 4 beforehand, it's not like big surprises.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
the Ninja Gaiden thing is, I think, sort of leaked beforehand. And there was no surprise in like, here's a brand new Hi-Fi Rush IP. It was just, here's a cool remake.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
In the chat,
I thought it was a good showing overall.
Yeah. I'm just excited about playing Clair Obscura and some more Doom. Maybe I should play Doom Eternal. I'll shove it on easy and go and like murder things. I mean, I've got the Series X in there and Game Pass, so it's not going to cost anything. In chat, Sret, Jinx, and Wibble said that they're not an Xbox fan. Would you call yourself an Xbox fan?
No.
Oh wow.
I've been in that. It's not that I've got something against Xbox or anything like that. It's just I've never owned one. I grew up with Sega and Nintendo, and then moved over to specifically girly, an Xbox girly is what Sret said.
Okay.
So yeah, and I stuck with Nintendo and Sega and then PlayStation because of the exclusives. For me, like, which games console I buy is not about which company it is. It's about what games are available.
Yeah.
And Nintendo is known for having amazing exclusives. I love Zelda, I love Mario, all of that. And PlayStation have got their exclusives that they have. It tends to be the Final Fantasy consoles, and that's my big series, so I want to stick with PlayStation. Whereas Xbox doesn't have that same history of exclusives. And like something like Halo, I was never bothered by. Or the exclusives they have had have typically been your kind of toxic masculinity shooters, let's say, which is just less my vibe. And now that they're going down the whole route of we're not really having exclusives, we're releasing all of our games on other consoles, I'm like, cool. Well, this game looks great. Like, Doom looks fun. Clair Obscur looks incredible.
Yeah.
Ninja Gaiden I'm definitely going to play. But I'll probably just play them on PlayStation because that's what
Really?
I own.
You wouldn't play them if they're included for free?
Okay, well, say
Game
I
Pass.
wasn't living with you because the Xbox you bought,
Okay,
right?
imagine.
So I've never bought an Xbox. I haven't owned one. I wouldn't go and buy an Xbox console to play these games when I know I can already play them on a PlayStation. That's what I mean.
Even if
The fact that we happen to own both between us, sure, I'll play it on Game Pass. But yeah, I've just never, in that sense, I've not been an Xbox player. I like the console. I like the controller. And if it has great games, I will absolutely play games on there. And so seeing this kind of presentation, I'm like, yeah, this is great. I'm very happy for Xbox.
Yeah. Well, Helios, you say you can play them on PC too as well. I don't know. I don't like playing games on my PC if I'm not streaming.
Just I'm a console girly.
I like to just chill on the sofa playing games or sit back on the seat and play it on a Switch or a Steam Deck. Like, I can't, like, sitting at the computer, I just can't do.
The thing is, what we could do is put a desktop computer not on a desk and put it under a TV and plug in the TV as the monitor and then you can sit on the sofa.
You could do, but that's complicated. I'm not a nerd. So that was the showcase. We should probably talk about what we've been playing.
Yeah.
Should we do a quick one? What have you been playing?
Well, I mean, I've been playing a lot of games this week, to be honest. Last weekend, I finished Like a Dragon, which I've talked about on the podcast.
Yakuza 7. Yeah.
Yakuza 7, yep, Like a Dragon. I absolutely loved it. I know you've been playing Infinite Wealth, so I'm going to let you talk about the Like a Dragon games in general, but I absolutely loved it. It's modern day Japan as an RPG. What's not to love? Like, it's brilliant. I had a great time playing it. But I had that weird thing afterwards of, what do I play now?
Oh, I mean, I'm still in that mood.
Yeah. You know when you finish a game and it's been great and it's literally all I've played since Christmas. And now I'm like, well, now what do I jump into? And I sort of jumped around a few different games, not really knowing what I wanted to play. So I ended up playing actually a lot. I've been playing a lot of space games, weirdly, because I think I wanted space as opposed to fantasy, I guess. So I started with a bit of Mass Effect 2, which because I've also played a lot of RPGs. Like last year was a year of RPGs for me. It was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It was Metaphor. It was Fantasian. It was Shadow of the Erd Tree. It was Dragon Quest and Dragon Age. And I'm like, I want to play something that isn't an RPG for a bit. I mean, I say that Mass Effect is an RPG, but it's an action shooting game and it's sci-fi, so it's different enough. So that was nice as a little palate cleanser for a bit. And then I jumped into Metroid Other M.
Oh yeah, what does the other M stand for? Is it Mother?
I don't quite know. I think it's Metroid.
It's Mother.
I think it's an other Metroid. Or
Metroid
maybe it is
Other
Mother.
I think it's Mother.
So
Merkin.
Metroid Other M came out on the Wii. Other Merkin.
Yeah.
Wow. Mommy. Yeah. It came out on the Wii and it was hated when it came out. And I love the Metroid games. And I think with the Switch 2 announcement, it's sort of a reminder of, hey, that's coming out and Metroid Prime 4 is coming. So it's kind of put me in a Metroid mood. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go back and play Other M.
Maybe it's Metroid Mother and they just kind of mistyped it and moved it around a bit.
Sure. Yeah, it was also made by Team Ninja. And it was absolutely derided when it came out. And it's because, for a couple of reasons, that even now are very clear with me playing it again. I'll say as well, I had to set up the Wii U in order to play it. Because it's a Wii game, you can play on a Wii U. And then I had to faff around plugging that in. And
that was fun. And I got to play some Xenoblade Chronicles Cross.
That's true.
For a few minutes.
That's true.
I was like, this is really slow.
So the way Metroid controls is it's on the Wii, and it's one of the few games that you use the Wii remote sideways. And it's a 3D game, but you control it using just the D-pad, which feels really quite awkward in a 3D space to be using a D-pad. And then you jump and shoot, and it's in third person. However, the Metroid Prime games, you might know, are in first person. And so it then has an extra mode where you can then turn the Wii remote and aim at the screen, and it turns into first person, where you can then freely aim and shoot at stuff, but you can't move while you do that. So you're sort of constantly changing your grip on the Wii remote to change perspectives, which is sort of a fun idea, but is also quite awkward. It's a bit messy to have to go back and forth. So people didn't really like it because of that. But there is another reason people didn't like this game, and it's because it doesn't feel like a Metroid game. And I will 100% agree with that. For me, a Metroid game is all about isolation in an alien world. That's why Metroid Prime 1 was so good. It's why Super Metroid was good. You are Samus, this female bounty hunter. She crash lands on a planet. Everything's out to kill you. It's full of aliens, and then you are completely isolated on your own, and it's all about atmosphere. And there's no dialogue. There's not lots of story. You're just there exploring, discovering things, solving puzzles, killing bosses, and destroying aliens. That's why Metroid is great. Other M fucks that entirely. So Samus goes to... Firstly, she talks a lot. No. Give me a silent protagonist. Like, I don't want talking Samus. She goes to the space station where she then meets a load of men who are annoying as space marines, and they're also exploring. So she's not on her own. She's got other people sort of with her that she meets up with. I'm not interested in that. It has all these cutscenes where it's showing like Samus's past, and I'm like, again, I'm not interested in that. Like, I want to play as Samus exploring. And the other thing is obviously Metroid is part of Metroidvania that we now know as a genre, and it's about collecting these upgrades that allow you to explore further in the world. And that's another reason the Metro games are great, because it gives you that sense of progression. What Other M does is Samus has all of these abilities from the very beginning of the game. However, she decides not to use them because a man has not permitted her to, which is fucking bullshit, and not the Samus that I know.
Not my hashtag, not
That's
my Samus.
not my Samus. Samus is fucking badass and a badass bitch, and yet there's this annoying man who's her boss who's like, oh no, or she decides like, oh, I don't want to go against his wishes, so I'm not going to use my missiles, until suddenly she decides to use them. So, for instance, you then go to the typical fire world part of the space station where it's lava, and she's dying because of the heat of the world. But it's not until you've explored half of it that she goes, oh, I think maybe I should use my Varia suit to protect me. And so she suddenly decides, because she thinks that a man allows her to do it, that she can use her suit. And it's just fucking bullshit and not what Metroid is. And I'm like, this is not what Metroid should be. And it pissed me off. And that's why a lot of people hate it. So the actual gameplay of it, I sort of don't mind. It's third person. They've made it a little bit more actiony. Like, she has this kind of last minute dodge move that's almost a bit like Bayonetta, really. And this sort of parry, and it plays a bit more like an action game than the first person Metroid games. And it has all these, the world is very much corridors to explore, which is less open than Metroid Prime, but feels closer to Super Metroid. And this is a direct sequel to Super Metroid. It starts with the end of Super Metroid as a big flashy cutscene. So it's a direct sequel, and I sort of like that this is what people expected a 3D Metroid to be, instead of the first-person Metroid Prime we ended up getting. And in that sense, I actually quite like it, but it's just Metroid Prime is so much better that this felt at the time like a step back. And even playing it now, this is the first time I played it because I skipped it because it was derided. And now I've gone back to it and I'm like, yeah, this is shit. So anyway, I played some of that. It looks
Will
like
you go
people
back
in
to
chat
it?
have also played it. I sort of feel tempted to, because it's not very long and I'm a decent chunk through it already. But also,
Ed, you don't like it. It's not very good, so don't play it.
I know. I should do that. I borrowed it from a friend who I'm seeing this weekend, so maybe I should just give it back and say thanks very much.
Do that. Go back to play Returnal.
Yeah. Well, that's the other game I then jumped into, was Returnal, which I returned to.
Yeah, Returnal.
So Returnal came out a few years ago. It is, in my mind, one of the best PS5 exclusives. I adore that game, even though I still haven't finished it. And I've been meaning to go back to it. And in a lot of ways, to me, Returnal feels like a Metroid game. You're playing as a female sort of space cadet, whatever, and she crash lands on an alien planet. She's isolated. She's got to explore. She collects power-ups that allow her to explore new areas, except for it's a roguelike. And it's really fucking hard. But what I love about Returnal is the atmosphere, and it's just this really hostile world where everything's out to kill her. But it's so beautifully done, and the sound design is incredible, and it's an incredibly difficult game.
Yeah,
as a roguelike, you die a lot, and you go all back to the beginning, and you have to do it all over again. And the thing that people didn't like about it is that your roguelike runs are like 2 or 3 hours, and then you can die and have to do it all again, and you lose all the progress.
Absolutely. Fuck that. No way on it. I don't like roguelikes at the best of times, and this is not.
Yeah.
This is like the worst of all.
I weirdly, though, don't mind it. And that's odd, because it is frustrating when you get a bad run and you end up dying, or you have a really good run and you die and you lose it all. But it just feels so good to play. It's so smooth. The frame rate's incredible. The shooting feels great. It's really responsive. So, and there is still a sense of progressing. Like you unlock extra weapon abilities, and you do have a permanent currency that you can spend on things, which is very useful. So a run is never completely wasted. But it can be a bit frustrating. But I really love this game. And finally, last night, I had a good run,
Yes.
which then feels amazing. So where I got up to, basically, there are 6 levels to get through. And you only do, slight spoiler, you only do 3 at a time because of story reasons. So I have never got past the 5th level, which is the ice level. So if you've played it, you'll know which one I mean. It is notoriously the most difficult level in the game, and it's really, really tricky. And I finally got a really good loadout and a really good weapon, and I got through that level, which then took me to the last level, and I was really close to finishing it. And I could see where the last boss was, and I was like, I'm going to explore and do some other stuff. And then I died a really silly death.
Yeah, some
in a
like
pool of lava, pool of acid, which was very silly. So I now have to do it all again.
Like I didn't even want to go in the living room because I was like, you're enjoying it, you're getting really, really far, and when you die, you're probably gonna scream
Well,
and
you
break
just take
things.
a picture of me or film me like
With your-
intensely staring at the screen.
You've got a Returnal hunch, yeah.
hunched over the controller.
That's how he normally sits.
Yeah.
Proper kind of prawn.
But I was just happy to make it past the ice level, and now I've got a new item that will help me. So I do enjoy a roguelike, and for me, I think Returnal is probably my favorite of all. I just love that game, and I'm really hopeful now I can finally finish it, which I've been meaning to do for the past like 4 years. Or was it 5 years now? Actually, I think it came out in 2020.
Yeah, when the PlayStation 5, 6,
so
5 came out. Yeah.
It's old, and I've loved it. Also, Jane Perry voices the lead character, and I fucking love Jane Perry. I've interviewed her multiple times, and she's amazing. And she's amazing in this game. So it's nice to hear her again. So anyway, I've jumped around to loads of games, but they've all been quite spacey.
Yeah.
Which is a thing for me at the moment, apparently.
Whereas I haven't really jumped around any games because I played Like a Dragon, Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon. I started this ages and ages ago, and it felt like it was too busy, like riffing off old JRPGs, and it still had some clunky bits. There's a dungeon quite near the beginning of Like a Dragon where it's like you go around that you have to stop at a save point, and all the areas you go to seem exactly the same. And I was like, oh god, I did not really like that at all. And then I realized, I pushed through because everyone said it's amazing. So I pushed through that one dungeon and played a few more hours and was like, oh, that dungeon was kind of like just a bit of a one-off, kind of an introduction tutorial dungeon. And just every other part of the world, I just fell in love with. The story is, it is intense. There's so much kind of, you can end up being like 20, 25 minutes sometimes, and it's just a bunch of cutscenes. But it's so wild and wacky and kind of grabs you. And I just adore the world. So yeah, Like a Dragon, I finished Yakuza 7, and that took me, I got like halfway through. I was doing quite a few of the side stuff, and I was like, you know what? I really want to play Infinite Wealth because that only came out last year, and I'd quite like to be kind of up to date. And we spoke about Infinite Wealth on the Game of the Year podcast with Megan Rosie, and obviously Victoria, but Megan Rosie loved it. So I was like, okay, I want to kind of get through it and get to it. So I didn't do most of the side stuff. I did a bit of it, including like the amazing business management one, which is...
Thank you for your help in that.
No problem at all. I'm very glad to help.
You were my business manager.
Very glad to help. And I just loved it. I thought the characters were just incredible. Like I fell in love with every one of those characters. They're all really unique. They're really exciting. And I was just thinking, it's a weird thought I had, but I'm like, Concord.
Yeah.
How Concord failed because the characters were just all really weird and shit. I'm like, if Yakuza had like those characters in Concord, it would work because they're all just so unique. They're all their own style. They've got their own kind of weapons and like their own attack moves, and they've got their own classes, kind of a bit like in a Baldur's Gate type style. They're just really interesting, and I want to know, and I want to get to know them more, and I want to get to know them better. And I'm also really interested in progressing the story, and I think that runs, even though it is, like I said, very cutscene heavy, it does run at a really nice pace. And despite being a JRPG, I don't think at any point you have that kind of you must rush to do the next bit. It just, I don't know. I just think the storytelling in that is fantastic.
I think what I really enjoyed about Like a Dragon, and I hope this continues in Infinite Wealth, is the sort of, when you say they're like really unique characters, I think for me it's the fact that they're sort of unlikely heroes.
Oh,
So you've
yeah.
got your sort of, yes, you've got your Yakuza characters that you play as and typical sort of brawlers, but I love that it's a sort of spoof of RPGs in very unexpected ways using real people. So instead of having your typical mage, you've got a homeless guy that can
Breathe fire.
that can breathe fire and like summon pigeons. Or then you've got you can have someone as a pop idol who's your healer by singing songs, and it's like
Make
it's the
the
way.
ouchies go away. She sings that.
Oh, see, I played it in Japanese,
Oh,
so I didn't get that.
that's the thing as well. I recommend, and I know you recommend the opposite, but I would genuinely recommend playing it with English dubs because you get all the little weird kind of mini bits, and like the voice acting is superb. But like you do get the extra little bits, like I'm getting stronger when he levels up, and there's a lot of kind of little small references that they don't subtitle, and you kind of miss the way that it's said. And I don't know, I really really enjoyed playing in English subtitles, but
yeah, I love that kind of parody vibe to it. I think that's what I personally really enjoyed.
I do as well. And I won't. It's a little. It's not a spoiler. It's not a direct spoiler, but it does hint. But I also loved how quite a lot of like your mortal enemies end up like joining your party because like they love, and they seem to do it in all the games, but they love a like redemption arc of a character. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to kill this person that I'm fighting. This person's really hot, or this person's really, and often they are, but like also really,
usually the Koreans, right?
And also
they love a K-pop star,
and Zhao.
Oh yeah,
very hot. But like, so there's really, and I'm like, oh, they're really cool. I don't want to kill them. And then like
they all rip their clothes off and fight each other, and I'm like, this is hot.
Yeah. The best bit though,
go play Yakuza.
Infinite Wealth. When you have classes, when you change your class, whatever, you can also choose outfits, and some of those outfits are like bathing suits. And
oh, you bloody love a bathing suit.
I
costume.
love a bathing suit. Yeah, that's like the best thing. I loaded up Xenoblade Chronicles Cross, and
they were all naked.
My character had like swimming shorts on. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that. So well, I finished that, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go play Infinite Wealth now. I posted on Blue Sky. You know, I finished Like a Dragon, adored it. I thought the story was fantastic. And also it's a really exciting story that I never know what the next twist and turn is going to be. It's not predictable in the slightest, as well, what I felt anyway. And then I went, I'm a burp there, and I posted saying I finished it, really excited to play Infinite Wealth, and then someone was like, you haven't played Yakuza, or you haven't played
The Man Who Erased His Name.
Yeah, is that Ishin or is that a different one?
Gaiden.
Yeah, Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name. And that's kind of like what Kiryu was doing. So Kiryu is the protagonist from 0 to 6. And he's the protagonist there, and it's like what he did from 6 to kind of Infinite Wealth. So like during the time of Yakuza 7. And because 7, when that came out, that's a brand new protagonist. Ichiban Kasuga. He is the new protagonist, new kind of hero, as kind of Kiryu is getting a little bit older. But they decided to make a small game. It was great. It lasted about 11 or 12 hours, and it was the original style, which was not the typical JRPG of Like a Dragon, but it's like more beat 'em ups.
Yep.
But like a bit of a more modern version of the beat 'em up that they did, showing like what he did. And it was great. The only thing is I've only played 0, most of Kiwami, which is the remake of 1, and also about half of 6. So there were like people that I recognized and people that I knew in it, but a lot of it I was like, I don't know what they're doing. And there's like a really emotional scene near the end, and everyone's like, oh my God, did you cry with that? It's like, no, I didn't, because I don't know who these people are. So it did make me want to play the original ones and go back and play so that I can kind of get more. And that leads on to Infinite Wealth. So Infinite Wealth is the sequel to Like a Dragon. And that's like following Ichiban. However, it takes place in Japan and Hawaii, and also features a lot of Kiryu. And I gotta say that a lot of people are like, oh, there's a soft reset. Like a Dragon comes out, and that's kind of like a reset. People can enter the series at Like a Dragon because we've got a new protagonist, new story, all of that. The only problem thing with Infinite Wealth, there's a lot of good, loads and loads of good, especially with like the combat, because there's a lot more positioning and it just makes it a lot more dynamic. But with Infinite Wealth, there's so much kind of Kiryu. And yeah, it's cool having him there, but there are just so many bits. It's like there are whole areas and whole quests where it's you reminiscing about the past and like what's happened in past games. And that would be kind of interesting if they'd managed to do it where it was kind of telling you the story of the old games, especially if you haven't really played them. But a lot of it was like, oh, remember when you went to this club and you danced with this person? And I'm like,
so it's more references than reiterating the story.
yeah. And there are
Okay.
literally like in every location you go to, there are, well, it's either 10 or 20 kind of memories and that you're meant to collect. And I don't know what happens in the end, but I don't know. They just felt a bit of a like, well, I don't know what this is about. And maybe that's to kind of, oh, I definitely know that it's there to kind of make people kind of reminisce and have an amazing thing. Be like, oh, God, I remember that. Oh, it's just such a beautiful homage to the old games. But also, like, the last game didn't really have that. So why are you just now introducing it to this one? And now, well, maybe people like me have to go and play the old ones and we have that. But also, it's like you kind of rebooted the series. So why are you spending so much time on Kiryu, who was in the first 6? Because I assumed that this was kind of a new start.
I think Kiryu is like a really beloved character from the early games. So they sort of want to keep him in somehow. I mean, you're right. 7 was sort of a soft reset. And I played Kiwami, so the very first one, and now I've played 7. And I think now you're saying this, I think my big concern about the series as a whole, as much as I've really enjoyed 7, is the need to have to play all of them to get that sense of a story.
Especially when 3, 4, and 5 are pretty bad. And they're really, really long and they're not great games. And I think I don't know if it's a real thing or if it's just a rumor that Kiwami 3 is going to come out, which is a remake of 3, which would be great. But also, like, if you're going to well, they did do the remasters of 3, 4, and 5, but it was kind of just a bit of a, kind of upscaled graphics. It didn't like properly remake it like Kiwami 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Kiwami 1 was the same? I think I read that Kiwami 1 was like the same engine as 0, but Kiwami 2 was the same engine as 6. It's like Kiwami 2 and 6 are actually like the best of those ones. And 0 and 1.
If you say so, I don't know.
But then also like Man Who Erased His Name, that had some really cool new twists on it and unlockable things. And I don't know, that felt a lot sleeker and it looked stunning. It was very noir.
But that's the other thing, is that it's not just the main series, it's the spin-offs as well. So there's that one, and then obviously next month is Pirate Yakuza, which is then a sort of side story / sequel to Infinite Wealth.
I'm very interested. You know,
which looks great, but equally then, do I have to play Infinite Wealth beforehand? And that means I then have to have played the side quests and the first ones, and suddenly this is like a massive undertaking to play them all.
It is. And even like, I was talking to you about the memories. So there were quite a lot of the bit in Infinite Wealth, you have to go and get Kiryu's memories and like you reminisce. There are memories of Man Who Erased His Name, but there are also like memories of the random, the weird kind of historical Japanese one.
Yes.
Like there were references
Ishin.
to Ishin, yeah. There were references to that as well, but it's like, oh, I've got a hazy memory as though I was a samurai back in the past. And people who've played that be like, oh yeah, that was cool. I remembered that. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I did play that game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to sound negative because I adore that game, and it's genuinely, if I'd played that last year, it would be up there top
Infinite
3.
Wealth.
Infinite Wealth. It would be probably would be my game of the year. It was really, really high up there. Thank goodness you're here special, but like this would have been top 2. So it was just like, I felt a little bit excluded from some of it, and I thought that it was kind of reset, and you don't need to kind of have all these memories of the old games. It was a bit more than a little homage to it. It was more like, hey, this is a sequel to both of these series, to the revamp and also the old. But like they did want to focus it on him a bit because it kind of might be his like the end of I'm not spoiling anything, but like his end of his kind of chapter. But I'm also like,
Curious.
yeah. But I'm also like, if it is the end of his chapter, can we just get it over with and then move on?
And properly move on.
And properly
we
move
need
on.
a hard stop at this point.
Yeah. But no, Pirate Yakuza looks really interesting. Do you know the kind of the premise of it? So it's Majima who wakes up on a desert island and doesn't have any memories, and he's now, oh, I'm a pirate. I'm not a Yakuza, I'm a pirate.
Because of course he's a pirate.
So I'll
They've
play
gone
that.
very weird with it.
But I will play that and be like, is it where the whole game is just 100% pirate, or will there be loads of references and memories coming back of what's happened? And I just hope not.
I think there might be.
Yeah, I feel like I need to play a lot of the originals again. But things like I've played Zero. I finished it. I streamed it. I don't remember anything about it. It was so long ago.
That's just you and games, Ben.
It is, but also, I don't know. When you do sequels and you've got loads of references to games that came out like 20 years ago, and people have played like 7 games in that series since then, am I meant to remember all of that?
Yes,
Oh,
apparently.
jeez. But yeah, I mean, Stretch says weird for Yakuza feels impossible. It's still like the weird and wonderful bits. I don't like Infinite Wealth is just.
Is it weirder than Like a Dragon?
It's on par.
Okay.
Because you play like everybody knows that it's set in Hawaii, but I didn't realize that there is quite a bit in set in Japan as well. And like I love how they reuse the maps. I just think it's really clever, and it's kind of, it makes sense. So they reuse the maps like it's almost identical to what it was in Yakuza 7. But obviously things have slightly changed. You don't need to go to certain places. So they do that, but they also kind of add to it. So like in Infinite Wealth, they've got Kamurocho, they've got the Yokohama place, they've got I don't think Osaka, but they've got and then they've got all of Hawaii. So it's a massive, massive game, and I think downloading it was like 122 gig. So they've added a lot to it. Also, there's Dodonko Island, which is their version of kind of like Animal Crossing. It's Animal Crossing where they come over and stay for 3 days and then go, and then you've got to kind of make their lives or make their trips really wonderful, and then they'll give you money based on how wonderful their trip was on the island, and you're like the kind of holiday rep.
Sounds fun.
It is. The only problem is that they give you like lots of things that you can put on the island to make it enjoyable and, for them to appreciate. And 90% of the stuff that they give you on this beautiful island is just completely hideous and ruins the vibe. It's like, hey, you can put like a shop, like a literally dirty, grimy kind of combini that's got 4 floors and is like dirty, and you can put that on the island, and it, that's what people want. So you can turn it into a bit of like an industrial hellhole. And
lovely.
Yeah, and whereas,
from a beautiful island.
Yeah, there's not like a benefit of put some tents there, put a nice picnic table, put some, I don't know, it's like, hey, we want to be like Animal Crossing, but also we want to be Yakuza, we want to be weird. So therefore you can put like a strip club on the island.
Great.
There was a freaking sadomasochism or BDSM chair that I could put down, and I earned it.
And I hope you put plenty of those down.
I did. I put one down right in the middle of the square, out in the open. It wasn't even hidden away. It was like, it's literally on the square, so people can get tied up to it. And,
do you watch people use it?
I thought you meant like in general or in the game?
In the game.
In the game, no, unfortunately nobody does that. But and then there's also like there's like every day there'll be some enemies pop up that you have to go and like beat up before they scare away the guests, and it was okay. I played it so much, and I literally I unlocked it and then got to the 5-star island, because obviously that's what you need, and did that all in the space of like 3 days. And afterwards I was like, okay, I'm totally Yakuza'd out. I never want to ever go to that island again. And then I took a little bit of a break and went to finish it. But it is really, really good fun. You've got the little segways as well, so you can go around a little bit faster, which is great because you can also use them in Japan. So when you go back there, so the streets that you've been running around in like a dragon, you can go on the Segway and do that. But like I said, the combat as well is quite a bit more dynamic. So when you attack, a lot of the attacks will have, especially I think it's based on your strength or whatever, but it'll show that you can send someone like flying backwards. So if you go and aim that well, even though they're going to be moving slightly at the same time, if you aim it, you can get them so that they fly backwards into another person. And if you do that, like the damage that happens is usually to the other person is about the same as what you do to the first person. So it's really worthwhile doing it. And especially if that last person then bounces off a wall as well, even more damage. So it does feel really, really good when you line things up and everyone's like bouncing off and dying.
I do like that really in Like a Dragon. It's turn-based, but it's not like Final Fantasy of here's a line of people and here's a line of enemies. it feels dynamic, like they're in a group and they're circling around each other.
Mm.
But I felt like they didn't quite make enough of the positioning. So it sounds
This
like
they
they've
do.
really enhanced that, which I really like the sound of.
They do, and it feels great. And also, they've made the button prompts actually at the time. Some of them are a little bit off, like like when you're bashing the square button, I guess you would be doing. Some of those pop up really quickly and then disappear, and you're like, "Oh, okay, I wasn't ready for that." You have to be like really, really ready. But like pressing the triangle button, which for me is the Y button because I was playing it on Steam Deck, like that one actually you do press when it hits, whereas before it was like you had to do a second later. So they've tightened up certain things and they've made it better. But oh my god, it is so good. All I'm gonna say is if you played Infinite Wealth, there's a bit right at the beginning where Kasuga is explaining how a date went to the two people. And it is just the funniest seeing their faces as he's explaining, like, why did you do that? Like, oh my god, I want to see your reaction because it's so funny.
I'm gonna get to it at some
There are
point.
many laugh out loud moments.
Like I loved Like a Dragon, and hearing you loving Infinite Wealth, I'm like, I absolutely want to play it. I'm just debating how much of the past I play or previous games I play first. So I'm weighing it up.
I don't worry about it. I don't. It didn't detract from it. Well, it did a little bit because there was a part of it that I'm like, well, I don't really know this person. I don't really know Kiryu. So, like, you switch characters in a couple of chapters. So I'm like, I don't really know it that much. But I think going and playing all the other games is very excessive for just to get a few references. So I wouldn't worry too much.
Okay.
Stret says, by the way, say no more, booking tickets. I'm guessing that's to Donko Island with the BDSM chair and the strip club. But yeah, to go and play Infinite Wealth. If you want to play Yakuza, because there's a few people that have said, oh, it sounds quite interesting. Start, and they're like, where do you start? There are two places to start. One of them, if you want to start and you want to play every single one of them, including all the beat 'em ups and like the whole of Kiryu's story before you want to play Like a Dragon, go and start with Zero, because that is the kind of the prequel. That is the origin story. So that kind of explains where they all came from. And then you go into Kiwami, which is a bit of a smaller experience, a smaller game. But still also very modernized. In fact, it came out around about the same time as Zero. Then you go into 2, then you kind of get through 3, 4, 5, or watch a YouTube video. Then go play 6 because that's really well done, beautiful, and kind of like finishes the story. And then you go into 7, then you go into Man Who Raised His Name, and then you go into Infinite Wealth.
That's a lot.
It is so much. But like I said, the other, I was saying the second entry is just to start with 7. Which is the one, the turn-based, when it goes turn-based with Kasuga.
Nice.
And there's nothing stopping you from watching like a YouTube video explaining the previous ones.
Never. Play them all. Be a pro.
I'm trying to think of like a game that I've watched YouTube videos to explain. In fact, I've only done that once, and it was a game I'd already played, and it was Destiny. Whenever a Destiny...
you need an explainer for that.
And even then, I'm like, I've literally no idea what you're talking about, and I've played this game. Datto, I think is it Datto or Biff? No, Biff. Whenever a new expansion comes out, he releases like a 6-hour video explaining the lore of Destiny from like the beginning of Destiny 1. Kingdom Hearts as well.
No thanks. No thanks.
And I still have no idea.
Let's find out what some other people have been playing.
Yeah, I've been blabbing on for ages.
You have. Lovingly. I'm going to work backwards because we've had a couple of weeks of answers, so I'm going to go backwards. So we begin, therefore, with Pete Random, who has been playing Lonely Mountains Snow Riders, which came out yesterday.
That euphemism.
The sequel to Downhill.
Bit of snow riding on your lonely mountain.
Sure. It's a simple skiing game where the aim is simply to get to the bottom in the fastest time. There are diverging routes and shortcuts, ambitious jumps that cut your time dramatically but take many attempts to perfect. A very satisfying game, much like the original. Snow Riders introduces multiplayer, which my brother and I had always wanted from the original game, just going down mountains in free ride mode, exploring new routes together. Bonus that it's on Game Pass, although I would have bought it anyway and will do soon. It's a perfect Game Pass game, simple and easy to get into. The previous one was, I think, cycling downhill, and now obviously they've gone with snow and skiing. But yeah, I've heard very good things about that.
Good.
Mr. Wibble is still playing God of War Ragnarok. I basically just get distracted by side quests. I'm really enjoying the world and the drama, and me being too greedy in fights. Also making progress in Act 3 of Baldur's Gate 3, and I have to say the first 2 acts felt a bit more organised to me. But maybe occasionally taking a longer break between play sessions is not a good idea, which I think we all can agree with.
Yeah. I took a big break, and I'm very tempted to off stream go and kind of respec, and because I'm a bit like, oh, this is really, really difficult, or are there other bits that I'm missing? And yeah, it's such a good game.
Yeah. Charlie says, I bought Dorf Romantic this weekend.
Dorf Romantic.
It has now consumed all of my spare time. It's so relaxing, and building the landscapes is just very fun. Agreed. That game's a great game. Clasco has finished Final Fantasy 3 at the weekend. It was good to get it out of the way because I can move on to 4 next time I go on a little trip somewhere. I've heard good things about that one. You have heard correctly. Final Fantasy 4 is brilliant and much better than 3.
You finished 3?
I played the remake of 3 on the DS, and then I also played the remake of 4 on the DS.
I think I played a bit of that on my phone, but like an old phone. It was weird.
Well, we've got them on the Pixel remasters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I just finished 1. I haven't gotten to the other ones. I keep starting 2, and I'm like, it's weird.
2, yeah, but 2's good for being weird.
Yeah, I should kind of push through it.
Right, I'm scrolling back to another week.
So as Ed goes and scrolls, what have I played in those weeks? I mean, I've just been Yakuza-ing. I've also been playing another game.
What are you going to play next?
That is a good question. I've started playing a game which I can't talk about yet, and kind of put it down. And it was a game I was incredibly looking forward to. I don't know if I'll go back to it and try it again, maybe on like an easy mode, because there were bits that it just got a bit convoluted. But we'll talk about that. There are also like 2 other games coming out that I've been very kindly given keys to, so I might go and play some of them so that I can talk about it when they come out. Also make some videos. So that might be what I play next. But I'd quite like to do some recording on them, including I need to also finish Rebirth. Yes, you do. And but that's also a really long JRPG, as is Metaphor. And one thing I've realized, like after finishing Infinite Wealth, which took me 50 odd hours, so I've been like spending about 100 hours of Yakuza in the last month.
That's a lot.
It is quite a lot. So I'm like, I wouldn't mind a kind of short game. We will see though. We'll see.
So a couple of weeks ago, Rob Logan got the platinum in Astrobot.
Whee!
Absolutely wonderful experience, full of joy that felt like a love letter to PlayStation's history. The controls were tight, the level design was great, the music was addictive, and it was the perfect length. If I had to make any criticisms, they would be: 1, it leaned heavily into a few abilities like the Bulldog and Chicken, where I would have liked to see that more evenly spread.
Yeah, the symbol one you only get at the very end, don't you?
Yeah, and
the
sponge one you only use once as well. And secondly, while I did enjoy all the PlayStation nods, I'd love for Astrobot to exist in a world beyond that. As Ed had previously mentioned, it does feel a bit brand heavy when it could be so much more.
I think we both said that.
We did both say that.
Some people only listen to Ed.
No. I think there might be some more, but I need to scroll back.
Yuffie says, Disney Dreamlight and Hello Kitty Happiness Parade for me.
That Hello Kitty game has just come out.
It's coming out.
Oh, is it coming out?
I think it's coming out because I'm pretty sure I looked at it. I might be wrong. But if you, honestly, the Hello Kitty game on Apple Arcade, which is apparently coming out on other platforms, genuinely very good. Genuinely very good. Would definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun and it's got no microtransactions.
Always good.
Yeah. And that's Hello Kitty Island Adventure or something like that. Generally go and play it. You will like it, especially if you've got Apple Arcade. It runs really well. I've got a new phone coming tomorrow.
Hey.
I got an iPhone 16 Pro Max, whatever it's called.
Oh, here we go.
And I'll be able to play some games. I might download Slay the Spire because I really like it. But it also we don't have I've got a message. It's not a game that I finished. I'm afraid it's a TV show from Biggest Motherus. Hi Ben, just finished watching Gavin and Stacey.
Oh.
Loved it. Now watching Gavin and Stacey, a fond farewell. If you're still in Cardiff, I'd have loved to do the tour. So there you go.
We'll go someday.
Biggest Motherus. Yeah.
Okay, right. I'm back on the last ones that we haven't yet done.
You know when you recommend something and they love it so much they watch from like the start to the very end of the last season in space of like 3 weeks. You know you made a good recommendation.
Absolutely. Right. DC says, I've been playing Stray. This is from earlier in January. Cutting Edge Gamer, that's me. I got it for Bubbles and I for Christmas, and we've been playing it, and I'm enjoying it a lot. The puzzles aren't particularly challenging, but it's fun to be a cat and knock stuff over and scratch stuff. You can even make a guy drop paint by annoying him. The graphics are great. I don't enjoy the baddies, but mostly because I'm not very coordinated, so pressing various buttons while trying to run around and get eaten is pretty challenging for me. If I could skip the baddies, I'd probably enjoy the game more, but it's been very enjoyable despite my shortcomings.
I like.
I mean, it's not really a game about well, you wouldn't expect it to be a game about combat
No,
and the cat bits are definitely what's best about that.
I loved it. I remember playing it from start to finish while watching you play Tunic. You were streaming Tunic, and I was sat on my bed in the old place, just
Tunic, what a game!
Yeah, a game.
Pete was also playing Conduct Together, which has got a lot of play over the holiday period. A great couch co-op game to work through with family members with much less yelling and stress than Overcooked. One of you controls braking trains, the other flips the directions of the tracks, with the aim of getting passengers to stations within a time limit without accidentally crashing trains into each other. Just the right level of communication, stress, quick thinking to avoid disasters. Got it 90% off sale on the eShop years ago, and I'd say I finally have got my pounds worth.
Excellent. Yuffie says battery life is nice for the iPhone. Good, because I'm on 30% and I've not even used it today.
So Glinsky has been playing Akami and is loving it. The art style is gorgeous and really ties together the story and mechanics of the game, whilst the soundtrack is divine. Rising Sun in particular is just such a beautiful piece. I've only ever known it as that game where you're a wolf who draws, which is why I've never played it before. If I'd known it was Legend of Zelda-like, I would have jumped on a long time ago. The story is interesting and full of Japanese mythology and folklore, launching you immediately into an end-of-the-world narrative while still keeping the light-hearted and silly moments without it feeling out of place. The Celestial Brush occasionally doesn't do what I think it will, and the side quest involving pushing bulls up hills can absolutely fuck all the way off, and then fuck off some more. But otherwise, it's a rewarding and engrossing experience. It's intuitive enough that when you get new abilities, you can think straight to obstacles or things of interest in the world that you haven't been able to interact with before, but this technique may help with. And I've spent so much time just wandering around and backtracking because even if I spend half an hour not achieving much, the atmosphere and gameplay doesn't make it feel like a half hour wasted. If the rest of the game continues like this, it may well become one of my favourites of all time. Please tell us all about Akami. I love that game. It's amazing.
Yeah, tell Ed about it.
Sure. Helios beat Dredge.
Great game.
That was given away over the holidays, but I went back and got both DLCs and finished them too. The Iron Rig was really fun and added a ton to the game, mechanics, fish, a reason to sail all over the place again. The Pale Reach, however, was very light in the content and feels more like something that was cut during production and later packaged as DLC.
When did the Iron Rig come out? Did
I'm
I
not
play?
sure.
I don't know if I played it with the Iron Rig or if I haven't played it, because I played the snowy one, which was kind of light, but also I'm like, I've finished the game. I don't want anything really heavy. I just want to kind of like nip back into it. So yeah, maybe I didn't do the Iron Rig. Maybe I need to do it. I really enjoyed Dredge though. That was like my first Steam Deck game that I played from start to finish. It was that and Dave the Diver. They were both brilliant on the Steam Deck.
It was good.
Cool.
Madam Knees finished Veilguard as a Kunari mage and now replaying as a rogue. I don't know why I'd want to replay it. Really enjoyed myself, even some of the aspects that people disliked. For me, the more condensed regions and denser story is an improvement on the previous game, agree. Although the personal relationships feel a little flatter, agree. My main criticism is player choice not always being clear or respected, also agree. For example, the dialogue options are not actually what you were going to say, and you can't really be anything but nice. That's very true.
That's one thing about Baldur's Gate that it does really well. Whenever you've got the options, it does seem like, well, although you don't say those words after you've clicked it, you just get the response, but you've said the right thing.
Yeah. One of the best character creators I've seen in a game, absolutely yes, particularly when it comes to body shape. The loot system of automatically combining identical items into a higher rarity version is a wonderful quality of life option, also agree, especially since it tells you up front what attributes unlock on leveling it up. Now enjoying a more complete playthrough as a rogue. Anything to avoid continuing with Final Fantasy 16, which I found tedious and empty by comparison.
Don't say it, Ed. Don't say it.
Wow.
What are you going to say?
I found Veilguard tedious and empty by comparison, but there we go. And lastly, Sret has been full-on iPad kid, playing a bunch of games. Thanks to Helios, I've logged on to Netflix and downloaded even more games.
I thought you were going to say, yeah, I've been playing Netflix on my iPad and Grindr.
Currently playing Spiritfarer, but have also downloaded Hades and Storyteller. Also have 3 free months of Apple Arcade, so taking advantage and playing Disney Dreamlight and Stardew. But the number one game that has taken over my life has been Balatro.
Oh, yes, you did, because I was going to recommend it. But also get Hello Kitty. Get Hello Kitty.
Yes.
Helios, by the way, says Iron Rig was released 15th of August 2024. So, yeah, no, I didn't play it because I played it a year ago over Christmas. So if I've got the urge to go back to Dredge, then I will. Especially if it's a bit more bit fleshed out. Anyway, that was it. That was the end of the podcast. Thank you very much for listening / watching. If you're watching on either Twitch or on YouTube, and yeah, anything to say? Anything to say for yourself?
My toe still hurts.
Oh, quit whining.
Yeah, no, you can find us on social media.
Oh,
you
you're
can find me Ed Knights.
We're
your biggest menace.
When are you back on Thursday? Next week.
Late.
And then we're going out on Friday.
I'm away next week.
Where are you going?
I can't say.
Can you not say where you're going?
Germany.
Ooh. So we might do a very early one on Tuesday. Well, no, that's my stream night. So, well, we might not do one next week. We'll see. Especially if you're going to be late. So, yeah.
I'm not sure when I can talk about it. In which case, we can wait till the following week and I can tell you all about it.
Maybe.
And people are going to be very jealous.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very excited.
I've totally forgotten what it is now. Well, enjoy. Hope you have a great time. You're going to Germany and I'm going to the dentist. So that's going to be fun. It's nearly all done. All the work is nearly done. I'm going to have beautiful pearly whites. But yeah, also Charlie, who is from Germany, says, who would go to Germany out of their own free will? Well, you know what? You've been forced to by work, so that's fine.
Yeah, it is for work. But it's fun.
Good. Well, Ed, where can we find you?
You can find me at Ed Knights on social media, but mainly Blue Sky these days.
Yeah, same. Blue Sky, biggest Bennis. The great thing as well is I don't have the one at the end of the name, so that's another reason to leave Twitter. But yeah, and also go and check out the descriptions. Find us anywhere you want. We're also on Discord, discord.gg/biggestbennis. Go find us there. That's always super active. We've got a film night coming up, which, what were we tempted with?
Kevin and Perry.
Kevin and Perry, go large. I will pull.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to watch it and be like, oh God, it was terrible. And it doesn't hold up.
Yeah, but I want to experience that.
I also want to show Hoodwinked. Have you seen Hoodwinked?
No.
The Schnitzel song. That's from that.
I don't
And also
know
the
that.
hyperactive, the squirrel thing that I showed you, where they slowed it down. It's like, you were going.
Yes.
It's so good. It is amazing. And it's really low budget, but like the comedy and the writing is 10 out of 10. So yeah, find us there. And yeah, we'll see you through week and the window.
No, don't do that.
Have a go to swappingjoysticks.com and youtube.com/biggestbennis if you want to go, or just go to swappingjoysticks.com to find all the links for all the other stuff. And yeah, for those of you listening to the podcast or watching it, we'll say goodbye now for the stream. We'll stay put for a second, but yeah, see you later. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Bye.